So I'm going to start today off by going through what's called a proof. Okay? Now we will do proofs all year long. A little bit here, a little bit there. It used to be when I took geometry, the whole class was proofs. We're kind of moving away from that a little bit. But I wanted to kind of talk about the structure of what a proof is. And we've been talking about angles and things like that thus far. So this is an example of an angle situation. Okay? So every time in every proof, you're going to be given some information, and you're going to be asked to prove some things. Okay? And most likely given a picture. So what do you notice just about the structure of the proof? How many columns are there? 2. Okay? We have a statement column, and then we have what's called a reason column. Some of your algebra teachers last year might have done proofs where you had to justify your step of each solving the problems, where you had to subtract, you had to add. Did you ever do that back in algebra? Similar, but we're going to do it with geometry now. Okay? So again, statements and reasons. Eventually, you will fill everything in on your own. But we're going to start off where I'm going to give you some things and we're just going to justify. Okay? So the first statement is always going to be your given statement. Okay? We are given that EDG and FDH are congruent. So I'm going to actually mark those. EDG and FGH, oh, there we go, and FGH are congruent. Are we okay with how I marked them? One little line and one little line, or one little arc, I guess. Those two angles are congruent. Okay? Now, something that I've kind of alluded to but haven't formally said before is that if two angles are congruent, that little symbol right there, the little equal sign with the squiggle means congruent. If the angles are congruent, then their measures, that's what that little M stands for, their measures, and notice the letters are exactly the same, aren't they? Angles congruent, the measures are equal. We call that the definition of congruent angles. Okay, that's just the definition. Okay? So we're good so far. So we have some different things to fill in for the last 3. Let's see if we can figure out what goes with what. How do you think about the justification or the reason for step 3? The measure of EDG. So let's look at what EDG is in our picture again. Come here. Here we go. EDG is just 1 plus 2. Would you agree with that? And then we also know that FDH is 2 plus 3. Are we good with that too? Which one of these reasons would justify that, do you think? What makes sense to you there? Angle addition. Very good. Okay, we're just showing that two things added together is the whole. Now it's just algebra. Why can I then say, well, if the measures of the angles are equal, can I just set what they're equal to each other? So here's my two angles that are measures are equal. Those are equal. So I'm going to set these two things to be equal. That would be substitution. Very good. And then what could I subtract from both sides? I could subtract the measure of angle 2. Because if I do that, doesn't it cancel? And then I'm left with 1 is equal to 3. Okay? So this is just a little bit of a warm-up, so to speak, on what we're going to be doing with proofs. Kind of jump into it generally and over time, but this is an example of something you're going to be working with and seeing. Okay. All right. Let's start and spend the rest of today with our compasses. Now, I know that not everybody brought their own. Let me pause for just a minute while I kind of distribute all of those. But I want you to title this Basic Constructions. We're going to practice 4 different constructions today. So 4 different constructions. And so you can, if you want, it would make sense on your paper to divide it into 4 parts. Okay? Or you can just do 2 pieces of paper front and back. So don't do hot dog, hamburger. Just do hamburger, hamburger. If you know what I'm even talking about when I say that. I have little kids. I can show you. I won't actually bend it. This means hamburger, folding your paper this way. Okay? Don't do, if you just do this, won't you have 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah. Okay, so you only need to fold it once. Or you can just use 2 pieces of paper. I don't care. Because we're going to do 4 different constructions. So I was just helping you divide your paper up. So don't do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason being is you'll need some room. Okay? You'll need room on your paper. So what I'd like for you to do is you also need a straight edge to do constructions. If you have a white compass, it comes with its own straight edge, so you're awesome. Okay. But you guys need a straight edge. Let me pause while I'm passing those out. So in the first part of your paper where we're going to do the first construction, you're going to call it copy a segment, because that's the name of the first construction. Yep. You need to write it down. Copy a segment. Would it be beneficial if I turned one of the lights on? Does that bother you? Yeah. You'd rather it be off? Okay. I'm just making sure. So copy a segment. And what I want you to do is to make a segment off to the left-hand side of your paper, not on one of the lines. I'd like you to make it kind of crooked so you're not using the lines of your paper. Just make a short little segment, okay? Yes. Okay. Well, we're not using it yet, so don't worry about it. Just make a segment so far. But use the straight edge of your paper, to, like this, use the edge of it like a ruler. Okay. So we have a couple of different compasses out there. And so when I talk to you about how to use the compass, I'll explain it in both ways, whether you have a sharp point one or whether you have a flat white one, okay? Either one is fine. So if we want to copy this segment, we want to make sure it's the exact same length as what's given to us. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to make another segment. I don't care how, make it obviously longer than the one that we were given. Go ahead and use your straight edge and make some longer segment. And we're just going to measure it with our compass. So, compass people.
Oh, do you have to add?
No, you don't need to.
Oh, because I added
Hang on, I want you to go the other way. There we go. All right, so what I want you to do, if you have a point compass, put the sharp point on one side, and open up the spread of your compass so that it is exactly the length of the segment. Okay? So open up the spread of your compass. If you have a white compass, I want you to treat the circle part as the sharp point. Okay? So you're going to put the sharp point right in the hole of that of where that is. So you're going to put it right there, and then you're going to open this so that this point is in that circle. Just like that, okay? So if you have a white safety compass, the circle and the hole is the sharp point, and then your slider, you have a hole in the slider. Move that to be the other end. Are we good? You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Emily, are you okay with it? Okay. Once you've opened it up, you do not want to move the spread of the compass now. So be careful if you have the slider ruler. You don't want that red to slide around on you. But you want to take your compass now, keep the spread exactly the same, and you want to line it up with the end of this right here. The spread is the same, isn't it? And then you're simply going to make an arc with your pencil. The easiest way to do that is to hold the point part down and actually slide the paper. Did you hear me? Actually sliding the paper itself is easier than trying to actually move the compass. The paper slides a little bit easier. No, I'm not even sure what you did, darling. Okay, so let's look. Okay, that's good. So you measured it, which is what you were supposed to do. And then you came here. So rather than, I want you just to make a little arc like that. So you see, I want you to cross it over here. I don't want you to bring it all the way back here. Okay? So what we can do is we can actually measure, if we wanted to make sure that they were in fact the same length. So let me see if I can rotate it. I don't know if it'll let me do it. All right, so this length is going to be about 5.5 centimeters according to my ruler. And I think I should be able to rotate somehow. Maybe not. Oh well. It won't. Anyway, this is 5.5. This should also be 5.5. They should be exactly the same length. This is a very basic construction, right? I mean it's basic. When I say basic, I mean basic. Yes, ma'am. To review for a second, how many construction marks does this construction have? 1. And I absolutely 100% never want you to erase those. So if I ever asked you to do a construction, I fully expect to see these little arcs all the time. Okay? That proves to me that you did it with a compass. And oh, by the way, I've been teaching geometry for 20-some years. I know the difference between a construction and one when you hand do it. Okay? I can tell. All right? So just be careful. All right. We go with the first one. Pretty simple, right? You're given something, you make an segment longer, measure and mark. Not too hard. Let's actually copy an angle now. Okay? So underneath that one on your paper, if you've done your hamburger fold, you're going to go do the bottom page, and this is construction number 2. And we're going to call it copy an angle. So I want you to name it copy an angle. And I want you to draw an angle underneath it. Use your straight edge to make it very nice and neat. And you don't want to use the lines of your paper right now. Just make any kind of angle. I happen to choose an acute one to start with. I thought it made it a little bit easier. And this is what you want to start with, okay? Copy an angle. And we have our compass. All right. So we want to, when we copy an angle, we want the degree measure of this angle to be exactly the same as the degree measure of the angle we're about to copy. Okay? So what I'm going to have us do is I'm going to start with some kind of ray. Okay? I'm going to make mine horizontal only because it makes it easier for me to orient, but you can make it any way you want. What I want us to pay attention to is that this is going to now be the vertex of the angle of my new angle. Just like this is the vertex of the given angle, we're going to make a ray, and we're going to copy one to the other. They're going to have the same exact degree measures. Okay? So what you need to do is you're going to take your compass, and you're going to put the point, and again, for you slide compass people, you're going to put the circle part on the vertex of your angle. So look right through the center of your part. And we're going to open our compass a little bit, or if you are a slide person, you're just going to slide your compass around a little bit. This is not good. Let me just rotate it here. There we go. Just open it a little bit. It doesn't matter how big. Open it a little bit more if you want. I don't care. And then you're going to make an arc. Make an arc just across the one. Please don't change the spread of the compass once you've done that. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Well, if they were in the window so I could see them, that would be good. Hi. Thank you. All right. Emily, you get to go home in a little bit. At 1:45 it says, okay? All right, so we've made an arc. We're not going to move the spread of our compass at all. And we're just going to move our compass, the sharp point, or again, the circle part, to the other side. And we're going to make the same exact arc. Again, sliding your paper around might be a little bit easier than the compass itself. But I'm just going to make the same exact arc. Okay? How are we doing so far? So an arc on one, same arc as the other. Again, don't smooth the spread of your compass once you've done that. You might need to make it a little bit bigger, okay? All right, is everyone where we are? I haven't seen you haven't made an arc on the second one yet. Got to make an arc on the one you're creating. Okay, good. Looks real good. Just coming to check. You want this to be a little bit bigger, okay? You want it to be a pretty big, very good. Just like that. Good. So what do we need now to finish making the angle? We need the other side, don't we? We have the one side, but not the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some measuring at this point. I'm going to take my compass, and I'm going to measure on the original angle the distance from here to here, where our arc intersected. We're going to measure that with our compass. So we're going to put the sharp point, and sometimes it's the same. Mine happened to be the same. I didn't have to move it. But you're going to measure it. So close and open your compass, or slide your compass, depending on which one you have, and measure that. Once I have it measured, I'm now going to come over here, because this is going to be the one side of my angle, and I'm going to slide my well, I'm actually going to make a mark over here first. Make a mark so we know. It should intersect at that point. So I made a little X. I would recommend doing them not on your binders because they're crooked, but on the actual table, just as a hint, okay? Once I've made this arc, I'm going to slide it over here, and I want it to look exactly like that one. This one has a little X over here. So I'm going to move my compass so that it has a little X right here as well. Okay? So you want to create an X. That little X that we formed created a point. So now I can actually finish making the angle. Let me pause for just a second. Once I've made those construction marks, again, never erase them. At this point, we're simply going to connect from the vertex through the X. And if I were to measure those two angles, they would have the same degree measure. Okay? Should be pretty close. So copy an angle. What I'd like for you guys to do is I'm going to pause the recording. I want you to go ahead and list the steps now. Go back to copy a segment. Write down what the steps are to do that. Write them in words. What steps did I have to do to copy a segment? And then do the same for copy an angle. So we'll pause for a minute. You try to write the steps down, and then we'll go through them together. So if we're going to start with the first, copy a segment, what's the first step that you guys said you had to do? Tell me something. Andrea, what was the first thing you said? Draw another. So this is what's given to you, right? So this will be given to you. And then you have to, so if you're trying to copy that, you have to draw another segment. So draw a longer segment. Would you agree? All right, so draw a longer segment than what's given to you. Okay. How about number 2? What did you do with your compass at this point? What did you do, Haroon? Go ahead. Measured which one? The given one or the given one? So use your compass to open the spread of your compass to the given length. Or measure with your compass, opening the compass, measure the given one. All right, and then the third one, it's only 3 steps. Then what? Once you've measured it, do we move the spread of our compass? So keeping the same spread, what will we do? Put an end on one and draw an arc. Okay? So keeping the same spread. Place sharp point or circle of compass. So place sharp edge of compass. On one end point. And draw an arc. Good. As long as you have those or thereabouts, doesn't have to be exactly what I wrote down, but as long as you have all three of those parts, you're good. Okay? All right, Julian? You afraid that you're not sure? Explain that that's a weird, it's the same thing. Square root of 4 is 2. We know how to do it. Okay. Copy an angle. This one's a little bit more steps to this one. Okay? Remember that this is what was given to us. So, what did I do to create the copy? What was the first thing I did? I drew a ray. Very good. And that ray is going to be one of the sides of our angle. What did I do next? I placed a sharp point on my given and drew an arc, didn't I? Okay. Third step. Once I've drawn the arc on the given, do I move the spread of my compass? Can't. So we have to say that. Keeping the same spread, now what? Place a sharp point where? At the end of the ray. And then I drew an arc, didn't I? I believe there's at least a couple more steps, because the only thing I have done according to the steps 1, 2, and 3 is what's drawn in blue on the constructions. Would you agree with that? It's just what's drawn in blue. So I have to add additional information. What did I do on the left-hand side to get the red arc? I did something. What did I do? On the given, I moved my compass over here, and I did what? I measured, right, and drew an arc. Okay, so we're going to measure on the given. Helps if I can spell measure. What am I measuring? How would I say that? How did you say that? I think what'd you say? The distance between the points of intersection. Very good. Where the arc intersects the angle. I agree that. So we're going to measure the distance between, this is my symbol for between. Have you ever seen that before? B/W? Just quick shorthand for between. Measure the distance between the points of intersection and draw an arc. Good. And last, well, there's actually 2 more steps. 6-stepper is the big one. How did I get the red arc on the other side? Keep the same spread. And then what? Place it on the end point of the ray, I'm sorry, on the intersection point and draw an arc. Good. All right? So keeping the same spread. place the sharp point, or again, if you're doing the circle, keep the circle part on intersection. And draw an arc to create the X. Email. All right, then we have our last step. So we're going to keep the same spread as before. We're going to move our compass to our new point of intersection and make a little arc. So at this point, I have everything except what I need to add is that line, don't I? Yes, sir? Yeah, go ahead. Take your agenda with you so it looks like I signed it. Or that was recorded. Awesome. Mrs. Nackert did a bad thing. Okay, yeah, put it back in, sweetie. All right, so I got to add this yellow line, right? What I highlighted in yellow. So I'm just going to connect the end point of the ray to the point of intersection. Right? That's all I do. Last step. All right, good. Come on down. So we're going to connect. And anytime you're drawing lines, you're always using a straight edge, okay? So we're going to connect the end point of the ray and our X. Feel pretty confident so far? I'd like for you to take a minute and practice both of those constructions one additional time. You can do it on a separate sheet of paper. You can do it right next to it using your instructions. But I want you to try those two one more time. No, the back we're going to move on because the next one is to bisect an angle. So go ahead and practice the first two, especially the copy and angle. I think that one's a little bit harder maybe than the other. But I would like for you to practice this one more time before we do the third one. I do not think we'll have time to get through all 4 of our constructions today, so I will leave the 4th one for a later date, okay? So make sure you save room on your construction paper for the 4th one. But let's just get through the bisected angle one, okay? Let's see. So if we want to bisect an angle, okay, I'm trying to get it so that why isn't it working? Open. It won't open. Sorry, hang on a minute. Having a moment. Really? There we go. Now it's still not going. There we go. Okay, good enough. So what I want you to do on this construction is we're going to take this angle. So I would like for you to kind of recreate an angle. I kind of made it an obtuse angle just so that the construction marks were easy to see or easier to see. So if you would kind of use your straight edge and next to bisect an angle, go ahead and draw a similar type of an angle here. Don't forget, anytime that you're using straight lines, use your straight edge. Okay? We are actually going to bisect it. What does bisect mean again? Cut in half. Good job, Julian, okay? So we're going to actually cut it in half. We're going to create an angle bisector. So this was actually a pretty easy construction. I'm ready for easy, aren't you? We're going to move our compass, place the sharp point on the actual vertex. We're going to open our compass enough so we're going to make an arc. Okay? It doesn't have to be super big, but it needs to be opened enough. Just make an arc. I really like how a lot of you are moving the paper as opposed to the compass. Again, just making your life easier. That's okay. As long as it creates 2 points of intersection, that's all I care about. Sharp point on the vertex and make an arc, a sweeping arc. The arc must intersect both sides of the angle. That's the key. Okay? Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my compass to the edge or the point of intersection. I'm going to move it to, because what we just did was we created these 2 points, did we not? That's what we just created. So I'm going to move my compass to one of those 2 points. And what I want to do with my compass is out kind of in the middle of my angle, make an arc. So out kind of in the middle. It doesn't matter. You can open or close it. This part doesn't matter. Just make an arc. Well, just one for now. Because India asked a great question, I believe. You said, or was it you? Same compass? Did you say it was you? What's name again? Deshay, I'm sorry. So Deshay actually had a really good point. Does it matter if I open my compass to make that blue mark? No. But now, once you've made the blue mark, you can't open or close it. Okay? So, I'm going to go over to the other point of the intersection. I just moved it. Gerg. Sorry, guys. Line it back up again. There we go. Sort of. I'm trying to line it back up. Come back to me. There we go. I think that's right. I know it's close enough. You get the idea. Now what I'm going to do is I have not moved my compass spread at all, and I'm going to move it to the other point of intersection. And I'm basically just trying to make an X. There's a problem, though. Look at mine. It didn't exactly make the X, did it? So what do you think I should do? Come back down here and actually make it a little bit bigger. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do, because I really want it to make a full X. Okay? So that's what the construction should look like. One arc, and then a little X made out in the middle of the angle somewhere. What do you think the last step's going to be? What am I going to be connecting? Vertex to the X. Very good. And that is the angle bisector. This one's a pretty easy one, I think. Easier than copy an angle, I think. Okay, we've just created the angle bisector. So what your job to do here before the end of today is to write out the steps of this construction. I can think of at least 3, probably 4 steps that you would use. Okay? So I'll pause the recording, and I want you guys to think about what the steps would be. Write them in words. The announcements are going to come on in a few minutes. So let's see if we can't get this done quickly. The first step. Valan? Okay, good. Valan, what's the first step? Shh, what'd you say? On the given angle, what'd you do? And perfect. Okay? So on the given angle, put the sharp point on the vertex and draw an arc. It's important in your steps to tell me where to place the sharp point. What is important about this arc? How big must it be? It's got to be big enough where it intersects the whole thing, right? Intersects both sides of the angle. Now I'm going to move the compass, move the sharp point to what? To one of the new points, one of the intersection points. I don't care which one. I think we started down here, didn't we? Okay? So move the sharp point of the compass to one of the points of intersection. Yes, for today. And make a small arc in the middle of the compass. Are you transferring? This week? Hang on one second. These are the final sets of steps. Make sure you include those in your notes. I might ask, shh, guys, listen. On a notebook check, I might say, how many steps is a bisecting angle construction? You should use your notes and be able to answer those 4 steps.